Hello, welcome to the Memento Futurum podcast. This is Vanessa, your host, and today we are going to be talking about the full moon in Gemini that is coming up this week, December 4th, and it's peaking at 3:15 p.m. Pacific time. Just to frame this conversation, I just want to begin with a little story share. So this is the first evening I've had to myself in a long time. So thankful. And I'm just tucked in here with my candle and my altar and all of you and my cats and my dog. And it's giving Delilah, if you guys ever listened to Delilah on the radio back in the day. That's like how I feel. That's the vibe. But yeah, it's been an incredible time just this evening, and then I'll expand upon that. But I spent the evening packing orders. I'm so thankful to everyone who's placed an order through the shop. That's 50% off. And in the process of putting together all the orders, I was able to touch so many essences because I fill everything by hand. So like I don't batch make my blends or even my singles and then just pull them off the shelf when you need one. It's like made to order. So when you order it, that's the moment that I create it from the stock essences or the mother essences. And that process is really special. It's really sacred. And it does require a lot of focus, a lot of sacred meditation, because I'm really in the zone with the flowers and creating something really sacred and special for you. And yeah, I feel like just the process of touching, like, oh my gosh, probably 100 or more essences opens my field, and I receive through that process as well. So yeah, I just wanted to frame this conversation with that awareness because I think the flowers are really bringing a lot of wisdom to this conversation, to this full moon in Gemini. And they really reminded me why I do this work. I just love them so much. I love the flowers so much. I feel like they can ground us. They can help us just to see past all of the small things, small irritations, the sand and the oyster, right? That's making the pearl. The things that we're like, ugh, I would rather not be experiencing that. But yeah, they help us kind of get through all of that, and just keep going. And I don't know how many times it happened where I was creating something for someone and then I had to go through my 300 plus flower essence bookcase. And it was just like, oh, I'm looking for dandelion. Oh, there it is. Like my hand just knew where to go. And these flowers just like they'd really draw you in. And their signals are so clear. So I really attribute that to their wisdom and the cultivated practice of listening. So yeah, it was a really special time getting to be here and to share with all of you this space and the broader conversation about this full moon in Gemini as far as my own personal life. So we're expecting baby number 2 and making a lot of space for her physically, like literally and also energetically. So that's looked like purging the home and shedding a lot of things. And I started this process, I want to say back in Libra season, little by little, and really feeling with this moon the culmination of the work. And so maybe you are going through something similarly, but going through and touching all of the possessions in your house is such an intense process, but a needed one, a profound one. and one that has brought a lot of insight. So yeah, it's really made me, the physical process has really made me look at what is it that I'm keeping inside of myself, in my beliefs, in my mind, in my spirit, in my heart, in addition to those physical things. But what am I keeping inside of my house, inside my temple, my body, that in my field, that I just don't need anymore? And I think that that really frames the reflections for this full moon in Gemini. So really just dropping in with that astrology, Gemini, it's an air sign. It's mutable air, which means it's changeable. And my big meditation with this moon, I was up in the middle of the night last night. I mean, we had an X1 solar flare yesterday. I'm sensitive to solar flares in general. I feel like there's another big one coming because I usually feel them ahead of time. So, and I was already feeling things days ago. But I was really reflecting about the Gemini energy and how beautiful it is that this mutable air, changeable air, brings us the mirror, right? So it's the twins. So, seeing oneself through the projections, through the other. In the tarot, it's the lovers, which I pulled 2 cards for you guys. One from the tarot and one from Words as Prayer from Nicole Casanova, my dear sister. And we'll get to the cards in a minute, but I literally pulled the lovers card, which is connected to Gemini in the tarot. I digress. But so I just have so many thoughts at one time. It's very Gemini. But the changeable air, this is what I was saying, is like the profundity for me around Gemini is this incredible ability to change one's mind. If you've ever seen a Gemini do their thing, they're like social butterfly, kind of everywhere, want to have their hands in everything, very interested in socializing and kind of just like, all of it. And that's not everyone's cup of tea. And I really appreciate the differences of all the signs, and what we can learn from each other, what we can learn from each of them, because we do have all of the archetypes inside of us. So yeah, the Gemini energy just bringing this sense of distillation of the intellect. We're in Sag season, so then the full moon is opposite. So Sag and Gemini are a pair, they're opposite signs. Sag could be seen as higher learning, higher values, expansion. And then Gemini is like, maybe like elementary school type learning, travel by car, whereas Sag would be like travel by plane. But these things, these mirrors, right? The axis of Gemini, Sag, just bringing the reflection this week around like, how have we expanded this year? What have we expanded into? Who have we become? What lives in our mind? How many times this year have we changed our minds? And that's okay. I think sometimes we get so fixed. And or there hasn't been a lot of permission around being able to change one's mind, change one's circumstance. Because first, before you have an action, you have a thought, right? So seeing that this full moon in Gemini is the last full moon of the year, when we're talking about endings, I always like to talk about endings of cycles in waves of things. So this is the Gregorian year that we're talking about. Some people see the Gregorian year as important for them, January 1st, 2026 being like, that's the new cycle. Some people seeing the spring equinox as a truer new year, in March of 2026. You could even look to the traditions that keep the lunar new year. So the first new moon of the next year, which is coming. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but I can find it. So Anyway, about endings. I feel like it's really nice to approach endings of cycles in waves. I think, and I say that because some things are very final and we feel them as that finality. And it might resonate for you. I think everyone's astrology is different. And I think everyone feels their astrology in a different way. So this full moon in Gemini might feel very clear cut. This is the, end of a cycle. And it might be more of a soft, my solar plexus is like, gurgly. This might be more of like a soft ending for you. A peeling back of a layer, starting to really approach something. So I don't think there's any one way to approach things. I think the social media pop astrology will kind of have you believe the hype or get more dramatic with it. But there is something to be said about this last full moon of the year and all of the things that we've learned this year. The astrology this year was wild for people. Even if you don't follow astrology, the felt experience of 2025, incredibly dynamic, a lot of pain, some suffering, from what I've been, listening to everyone's stories, a lot of truths being revealed. And that is a central word, truth, when it comes to Sagittarius, when it comes to Gemini as well, because let's not forget, Gemini is also the archetype of the trickster, the jokester. We bring in coyote medicine here with Gemini. It's like, which mirror are we looking at? Which self? Which twin, right? There's this duality with Gemini. And it's important to look at both things, that come up, and then distill it down. So yeah, just feeling into this full moon, I'm called to ask you, in the spirit of my grand decluttering energy, but also feeling that energy inside of this transmission, what is it that you need to declutter? What is it that you need to let go of? Where in your life are you still holding on to something that's already dead, dying? We are in the phase of the seasons between Samhain, so Halloween time, and the winter solstice. This is for us in the Northern Hemisphere. And we're approaching the longest night of the year. And when that happens, the light turns completely inward, right? Because the light of the sun now is not illuminating the skies. It's dark. It's cold. It may be wet where you are. And so we come into this part of the year where we are fortifying our spirits, we're fortifying our hearts with all of the energy of the year and really parsing things down to the essentials, right? That's what winter is. The tree doesn't endlessly create fruit and keep its leaves and just keep going inside of winter. It drops the stuff, right? And so taking a clue, taking a note from Mother Earth's playbook with this full moon in Gemini, it's noticing where you too need to parse things down and understand what is more essential to you in the now, right? Because let's go back to Gemini, changing our minds. What once felt comfortable, what once felt safe, what once felt good, or even worth striving for, may not be where you're at anymore. And I think sometimes people hold on to things longer than they need to because it's harder to admit that you've changed. It's harder to admit that you're different. And there's comfort in staying the same because you don't have to meet the unknown, right? So letting yourself become radically honest and truthful, that's Sagittarius, you know. So using this time, using this astrology to let yourself hear it. You know, what is it that's real for you? And whether it's physical possessions, like in my example, all of the books and my crystals and my decks, and I've loved them so, so much. And they've represented so many parts of me and my journey. And, you know, they have been incredible tools for me, incredible tools. But I don't need them anymore because I've integrated things. And it has been challenging to admit that I've changed and that I'm different and I'm stepping into something new. Again, how many times am I going to change in my life? And I say this knowing myself, knowing my own stuff, my own astrology, you know? And I think this is a message for everyone. We're going to continue to evolve and change as many times as we need. And I don't think that there's ever a destination. I think it's an understanding and an unfolding through the process as we recognize ourselves, the mirror of life, teaching us and showing us like, this is actually more true for me. That's actually what's real for me. This quality of feeling, this state of being that's produced through the experience of maybe being in a relationship or being in a specific job or career or whatever, but the quality of the frequency of the state of being that comes through the experience as a human, whatever it is, wherever you find yourself, understanding when things are more true for you. And then letting the rest go. You know, I heard that holding on to things and like hoarding things and like clutter is a sign of scarcity consciousness. And I don't know that I ever really connected those things. And I'm just sharing that because we come from all kinds of stories, ancestral stories, families, family values, you know. My family came from Italy, and my dad's parents were incredibly resourceful. You know, they were older. They were older parents for my dad. And so, you know, they really kind of came out of the Great Depression era of keeping everything to repurpose. And I think a lot of that got passed down in a way. And so it's like I've been finding myself with these things like, wait, why did I keep this? What did I think that I was going to repurpose that for? Or having some grand idea about how I could repurpose something, but basically just never getting around to it. That takes up space. It takes up space in our fields, in our minds, you know, all of the places. And so, you know, there's that as an example. So I feel like even this time of full moon in Gemini being because it's mercurial, right? So Mercury coming in to be more fast moving, to influence the thoughts in the air of your field and your intellect, all of the things that you're thinking about, but to bring like a swift breeze, like a whoosh of new energy to help you to kind of parse through the stuff, especially at a time of year where things start to slow all the way down. It's so interesting that we do this thing with the holidays. You ever like stop for a second? You just like you're having a lot of thoughts at one time. Oh my God. gosh. I'm really in the Gemini energy. But yeah, like you're feeling all of the holiday energy being with people and da 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 da. It's so the opposite of what the season is asking of us, you know? And also not in a way where we are gathering the light, you know, through our communities, through ourselves and bringing it to each other. So it makes sense that we would gather at this time of year. Just the way that we do it, as far as the Western world goes, can kind of get obnoxious. And so it's getting really clear on what the boundaries are and where you lie, where you start, and where other things stop, right? Or start, where you stop, other things start, what your capacity is for the level of engagement that can be asked of us this time of year. Again, coming back to Gemini moon, social, like, you know, that's a key word with Gemini. It's very social and it wants to be. We all have different definitions of that and experiences around that and capacities for it. And even the same person will have a different capacity, experience to experience, year to year, yada, yada. So yeah, I'm just like talking through how I've been feeling this moon. I hope that this is helpful for you. I want to talk a little bit about these cards. So the Lovers card, I love to see this card in general as it's tied to Gemini. Seeing the polarities, we could see it as divine masculine, feminine coming together, sacred duality coming together. But with this card, there is a sense of harmony, two opposite poles coming together, recognizing the unity in the duality, right? That in the duality, things are held together by an axis. They're not separate. I think that's the thing that we forget when we're talking about opposite things. We're talking about duality, like the twins. They are linked by that sacred invisible cord of unity. And so just to pull the card, I just thought it was wild. I mean, to pull this card of all cards for what we're going to talk about, I was like, oh, of course. It felt very strong. So the energy around the Lovers and Gemini being so strong. But I really want to say, you know, a message here is how in this time of decluttering and shedding and examining the year and the hustle and bustle of the holidays and the winter and the axis between Sag and Gemini, how are you holding the frequency of love? Where is love for you? How are you experiencing it? Do you have love for yourself? How alive in yourself do you feel? And letting that question really invigorate and spark new things and help direct you, because maybe things feel kind of dull or they don't feel right. They don't feel alive. They don't feel loving. They feel stressful or chaotic or overwhelming. It's like, well, let that question be a compass for you to find your true north and to continue to move in that direction, right? To the truer self, the reinvention of self that needs to happen when we start to get off course. And then the card that I pulled out of the Words is Prayer deck. I wasn't going to read it to you, but I just feel called to read this whole thing to you. So this is again by Nicole Casanova. We pulled the Strength card. I love to see this vibration here in the context of this conversation. The keywords are ease, unshakability, and fortitude. So it says, strength is a quality of the soul to overcome obstacles with fortitude, faith, and trust. Of course, there are different types of strength. Physical prowess, mental acuity, and emotional endurance are some. And we should also not forget the vulnerability of baring one's heart, which is an act of great courage. In life, there is no greater strength than that of love and wisdom, peace of mind, clarity, openness, humility, and mindfulness, since the truth will always be the most powerful story. Our mind is our spirit's shield. See, she talks about the mind here. I thought it was perfect for Gemini energy. It protects us from projection and illusions, so we must do everything necessary to keep it healthy and sound. A good, clean spirit and clear, focused mind withstand anything because it trusts itself. Similarly, a strong heart is worth its weight in gold. It is forgiving, grateful, and always protecting its treasure, love. It knows that love is the most important thing in the world, and its fortitude to love is unparalleled. Strength of body requires flexibility so we can have the stamina needed to accomplish our tasks without feeling depleted or snapping. And the strength of being can be found in keeping good relationships with ourselves, our loved ones, and life. At the end of the day, we all share an inherent knowledge and virtue that we want everyone, everywhere to be okay, to be loved, to be healthy, to be free, and to be strong. Complete poetry. Get yourself one of these decks. I'm going to link it below. A perfect message for this time. I know so many of you have gone through so much this year. I know I have gone through so much this year. I have lived many lifetimes this year. Heartbreak and dissolution of friendships and walking away from old things that just do not serve and having to make some really hard decisions in oneself. And I think that we are all walking this path together, whether the experience looks the same or not. Obviously, it's going to be unique to all of us, but we've all done something together, and I feel like really seeing your strength, seeing how you've already overcome so many things in your life, and to continue in that direction of your own strength, and seeing what's possible through your own will, and really stepping into the self. One of the last things I'm called to share before we depart is this time last year for me was extremely difficult. It was a very challenging time in my marriage. There was a lot of disagreements and dissonance around how things should happen and should be run. And my main takeaway, seeing things now a full year later, is how I had to put my head down, put my nose to the grindstone, and put love, absolute love and peace in my heart as the forefront thing. That requires a lot of humility, a lot of tenacity to keep going, a lot of strength, and allowing oneself to be seen as something that may or may not be true. But there are certain moments where this becomes a strategy, and you don't live there forever, but you allow yourself to become so adaptable and changeable and malleable to the will of the spirit that and what wants to happen. And you put love and peace at the forefront of everything, even when things feel chaotic, even when things feel like that's not right or this isn't right, blah, blah, blah. And what happens with that level of love? My guardian and sacred teacher was the Divine Mother, and I still thank her every single day because we came out of that time completely renewed and so different. Just a lot of healing. And I'm just sharing this story with you because we all go through things. We all go through things, and we all have to find ourselves in times of deep hardship and find our strength and really rise up, right? And pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, even when it feels like you are the only one who's doing it, and not complaining and not getting like lost in the weeds about all the stuff, but just doing the work, right? Very much like chop wood, carry water, the Buddhist story. And so I'm just sharing this with you on the tail end of this strength card. If you find yourself in a place like that this season, just know that you can and you will get through it. Keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Know what your values are. Keep love and peace in your heart. Move from that place every single day with all of your actions and all of your speech and all of your thoughts. And life really does reorganize itself around you. And some things do have to crumble. And it becomes very apparent when you're moving from that place and things just start not working. Things stop working. But, everything that's in your life is there for a reason. Everyone that's in your life is there for a reason. And, closing this conversation about Gemini, it's like using that sacred teacher, the sacred mirror, before you to distill yourself and to not place blame on anybody and just to take full responsibility. Anywho, that's all I have for you around full moon and Gemini. I hope this is helpful. If you have questions, let me know. Again, the shop is 50% off. So if you would like flower essence remedies, I have a few Cambiero smokeless smudge sprays left, and other goodies in the shop that are still there. And I'm also offering sessions, 15% off sessions. So if you need support, I'm here for you. And that's all kinds of sessions, whether you want a deep dive alchemy kind of session, or you just want a little quick tarot check-in, or you want to have an Ayurvedic postpartum planning, opening this part and this body of my work. If you want to talk about integration as a mother, as a parent, I'm here for you. There's lots that I'm offering, and I invite you to go take a look and see if you're called. And in general, I'm sending you a lot of love, always a lot of peace and calm. And I'm hoping to do another one of these before the solstice, and maybe my nose will be a little less stuffy next time. Anywho, I will talk to you soon. All right, bye.